From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
Now at 11, the state's largest district is preparing to welcome students back to learning virtually in what has been an unprecedented school year for kids across Indiana. District leaders want parents to know they are ready to help and they're aware of extra challenges that some families are facing.
WRTV's Cornelius Hawker talks to a mom who tells us, like a lot of parents, she's going to make the best of the situation.
I'm kind of actually looking forward to it now.
That's how Dina Kelly is feeling just days away from her son starting school virtually. You first met Dina 2 weeks ago. She and another mom talked to me about their worries and expectations for this upcoming school year. Hers are different than most because her son has Down syndrome.
How hard has it been trying to teach your kids at home?
It's been hard for me. I have to create a activity, a plan, a speech class, trying to get him to talk.
That was her reaction after finishing up the last school year virtually. Now, with more guidance from the school, she feels like this.
I just hope for the best, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be interesting and informing. Before the first time, I didn't know what to expect. Now this time, I kind of,
Earlier this evening, Indianapolis Public Schools held a virtual meeting for parents to talk about what remote learning is going to look like for students. It was led by Dr. Warren Morgan, who I talked to afterward.
Summarize the responsibilities for everyone during this very unique time of going back to school.
Yeah, well, the first thing for everyone is grace and flexibility. I think that's like the one thing that I'm learning. Like all of us, we're going to be learning together.
Dr. Morgan says teachers and other staff members have already been reaching out to families to prep them for this school year, which starts next Monday, August 17th. And he's not fooling himself. It's going to be a learning process.
I imagine this first 9 weeks is going to be a lot of that, like us trying out things, and when it works, great. When it doesn't, we communicate it back out so that families know what to expect.
It's a top priority for IPS to make sure they're helping families like Dina's who have students that need extra attention.
If their IEP calls for them to have more individualized time, when that teacher releases the student to do work independently, the special educator may push in and say like, hey, let's connect. Let's see how your work is doing.
For Dina, that's a big relief knowing her son, Denzel, will get the services he normally receives in person.
You're good.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
And IPS students will not miss out on meals during remote learning. Today, the district announced the food service team will provide breakfast and lunch to all IPS students beginning Monday. Prepackaged meals will be distributed from noon to 3 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays and 9 a.m. to noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. When picking up meals, students or their guardians must provide the student's name and grade and the school they attend. And meal pickup is only allowed 2 times per week. Pickup sites will be in the parking lots of more than 55 IPS schools.
Indiana's moratorium on eviction ends tomorrow, and many organizations and agencies are taking steps to try and help Hoosiers who are facing getting kicked out of their homes. Today, the Indianapolis Housing Agency Board of Commissioners voted to implement a repayment policy for residents. Around 2,000 families live in the agency's 13 properties. IHA says 900 households are behind on rent. Residents and agency leaders say working to avoid evictions is the right thing to do during these tough times.
Already we have a lot of homeless out here, and you've got families with illness, families with kids. Where are they going to go? The jobs are closed down. What are we going to do? We are crying for help.
They'll give you a break a little bit. That's one thing I like about it. They try to talk to you. They try to work with you. That's what I like.
We don't want to file these mass evictions when we're able to. We would like to, again, provide stable housing for our residents so that they can focus on employment and not having to worry about a place to call home.
There are many other programs and organizations assisting renters and homeowners who are struggling to make payments. You can find a list of resources on our website at WRTV.com.
Another bad sign for people hoping for help from Congress. The Senate is now on recess and will not convene until the day after Labor Day. Negotiations over emergency coronavirus aid have been stalled for days. The House is also essentially closed. It appears talks will not fully resume until Congress returns in September. Lawmakers are on call to return to Washington with 24 hours notice.
And now to the forecast. WRTV Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory is working for you, helping you get ready for your Friday and your weekend. Hey, Kevin.
I think we're ready, and let's go. Temperatures tomorrow will be in the 80s. The same for the weekend. There are changes, though, as we move forward. We hit 88 today, 77. That's our current temperature in Indianapolis. Surrounding areas lower 70s up in Kokomo, 75 down in Bloomington, where you had nearby thunderstorms during the evening hours. May have a couple of sprinkles or showers right now, anywhere from Sullivan to, say, Bedford and Mitchell and southwest Indiana. Tomorrow, just a 30 to 40% chance we'll see some rain, low to mid 80s. One more headline for you. The humidity remains high, but not for my entire 7-day forecast. There's a big change there, and it's on the way. We'll talk about that.
According to the latest update from the Indiana State Department of Health, 1,046 new positive cases of COVID-19 were reported yesterday. The 7-day positivity rate between July 31st and August 6th was 7.8%. That rate continues to climb this week. The state health commissioner said she is concerned about a possible spike with another holiday coming up in a few weeks.
We have been able to link many of these cases to holiday gatherings, graduation parties, and weddings. My fear is that we will see another spike after Labor Day if people continue to ignore our guidance. If we want to get all of our kids back in the classroom and reopen all of our businesses with workers in the office, we cannot behave as if things are normal.
Free COVID testing is still available across the state to anyone who lives or works in Indiana. There are no other requirements. You can register by going to lhi.care/COVID testing or by calling 888-634-1116.
A contract to make ventilators at the General Motors plant in Kokomo ends this month, but production of the life-saving equipment will go on. A GM spokesperson says the manufacturing will continue because the need continues. General Motors and a company called Ventec started the project in mid-March as the demand for ventilators increased across the country. It required many changes at the plant in Kokomo, including transforming the factory and hiring more than 1,000 team members. When it comes to ventilators at Indiana hospitals, the State Department of Health says 80% are available. 3% are being used by COVID patients. The total capacity is 2,896.
Nationwide, the debate over schools opening their doors continues to grow. ABC's Zoreen Shah reports many parents and staff are divided over the best way to teach children during the pandemic.
Open schools! Many schools across the country pushing to have their doors back open. In Tampa, Florida, the state is forcing schools to do so or potentially lose over $200 million in funding. Some schools tried opening but are already facing consequences. 2,400 students and staff are quarantined in Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Indiana. In Cherokee County, Georgia, dozens testing positive. Parents conflicted on whether to send their kids back.
I definitely still say give this a shot. I think there is a way to do this in person.
It's just a little too scary right now. They're not mandating masks, which I think is a huge thing that can stop the spread of the virus.
Dr. Anthony Fauci saying schools that are reopening should see their communities with positivity rates below 10% and saying schools should not rely on temperature checks.
It is much, much better to just question people when they come in and save the time. Because the temperatures are notoriously inaccurate many times.
Some school districts doing away with all of that, trying to get computers to students to encourage online learning, pushing back against parents who don't think it will be effective.
Enough. This is an emergency. This is a crisis. We don't have time for it. These children need to be educated, and they need a device to get it done.
They're not engaged anymore. It's very, very difficult when they're that young.
The president urging schools to open.
We don't want the schools shut down. We want the schools to open, and especially very young children handle it. All children, but especially very young children handle it very well.
His Democratic rival Joe Biden not weighing in on schools, but still drawing contrast with Trump's coronavirus strategy Thursday, calling for all governors to impose an immediate mask mandate.
This America, be a patriot. Protect your fellow citizens. Step up. Do the right thing.
The American Academy of Pediatrics Thursday suggesting all kids over 2 should wear cloth face coverings, comparing them to helmets and seat belts, saying this should be the new normal. Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Well, traditional flu season starts in a couple of months, but there are concerns about that combined with the pandemic. But efforts to slow the spread of COVID-19 may also slow the spread of other viruses like the flu. Medical experts say if people continue to wear masks, wash their hands regularly, and try to avoid large crowds, we could see fewer flu cases than in years past. But if restrictions are eased...
On the flip, if people start relaxing those measures, if people get complacent, we could have the opposite effect where now we have two deadly virulent pathogens circulating in the community at the same time.
Doctors are also urging people to start getting the flu shot when it becomes available next month. Health experts say the shot is very effective and will help keep hospital beds open for people with more severe COVID-19 complications.
The Rebound Indiana is sharing resources for nonprofit organizations. We know some are struggling to serve the community because of the economic impact of COVID. The United Way of Central Indiana and the City of Indianapolis are still offering a Restart grant to nonprofits, but the deadline to apply is Saturday. The funding is already helping organizations across the city like St. Mary's Child Center. The center used the money to stock up on cleaning supplies and pay for professional sanitation services.
We received $10,000 in this grant. And I don't know how we would have done it without it. And of course, we want it to be the best environment possible. So we are so very, very grateful.
To apply for a Restart grant, you must be a nonprofit located in Marion County. For more info and a link to apply, go to our website at WRTV.com.
The biggest thing that we can do is inform folks and make sure folks understand the process, make sure they understand that it's secure, that it's safe, that it's transparent.
Do you have concerns about voting by mail? Working for You, a detailed explanation on how the process works.
And a little later, we'll take you back trackside as drivers prepare for the 104th running of the Indianapolis 500, where they stand tonight ahead of Fast Friday.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 11, streaming now.
And new at 11, police say 2 juveniles were hurt in a double shooting in Fishers. Around 9:45 tonight, police were called to the Best Choice Field House, a sports facility near East 116th Street and I-69. They found 2 people shot in the parking lot. Investigators did not give exact ages of the victims. It is unclear how badly they are injured. And we are working to learn more about a shooting at a gas station on the east side of Indianapolis. Police were called to the scene near East Michigan Street and North Sherman Drive around 7:30 this evening. They say someone shot through the passenger side window of a car a woman was sitting in. She was taken to the hospital with critical injuries.
Working for You, WRTV continues to get answers about how this pandemic could impact the November election. With election officials expecting nearly half of all ballots to come through the mail, Scripps reporter Dan Grossman is fact-checking claims of fraud.
If you've been on Twitter over the course of the last few months, you may have noticed some tweets about mail-in voting fraud. Turns out voting this way is just as secure as going to the polls.
Somebody is more likely to be struck by lightning than they are to commit voter fraud.
Lawrence Norden is the director of the Election Reform Program at the Brennan Center for Justice, a nonpartisan public policy group at NYU. He says in the last few federal elections, 25% of all votes were cast through mail-in ballots. Not only can it be more convenient, it can be an important tool when it comes to verifying the results.
Mail ballots are paper ballots. That means that we do have an opportunity to audit all of those ballots. But I think people should feel very comfortable about the security of the system.
Firstly, mail-in voting reduces the risk of foreign interference to nearly zero. Mail-in ballots are printed on a specific type of paper with technical markings. They also include several local elections like city councils, school boards, and ballot initiatives, meaning there are hundreds of different ballot designs for our country's 3,000 counties. Then you consider the actual ballot itself. It comes in a secrecy envelope that is connected to each individual voter who needs to sign it. That signature is verified by judges who are sometimes trained by the FBI to detect inconsistencies. Counties across the country also say they have a system to update voter registration, death records, and address changes to make sure the ballots are going to the people they're supposed to, reducing the chance of fraud.
It is not a thing. I mean, I think we've had one prosecution in 15 years.
Paul Lopez Lopez is Denver's city clerk and recorder. He says of the nearly 214,000 votes cast by Denver residents in the state primary on June 30th, nearly 212,000 were cast through the mail. And this is for a state that had the highest voter turnout in 2016.
Biggest thing that we can do is inform folks and make sure folks understand the process, make sure they understand that it's secure, that it's safe, that it's transparent.
This isn't to say voter fraud doesn't happen at all, because it does. But the Brennan Center for Justice says it is so rare and happens on such a small scale that it doesn't warrant the broad-based red flags that some raise. I'm Dan Grossman reporting.
Unless state officials make changes, if you want to vote by mail in Indiana, you must go to the Indiana voter portal. There you'll see the vote by mail option, which gives you instructions on how to apply for an absentee ballot. That application must be received by your county election office by October 22nd. For more information on that process and more resources for voters, go to the Election 2020 section of our website, WRTV.com.
Now to the forecast, and it was a beautiful evening in downtown Indianapolis. Still a little hot and humid, but some clear and dry skies. Kevin.
Very nice. Second day at the Motor Speedway. We'll hear from Dave in just a little bit, and it looks like a good qualifying weekend as well, although there is a chance for rain. Let's talk about what's happened in the state tonight. Those thunderstorms that were down by Bedford and Bloomington have pretty much faded away. Now, the better chance of any showers returning will be in the southern portion of the state. As far as our headlines here, the next 3 days, low chances for rain. I'll define low in a second. Our temperatures will stay at 80 or above through Sunday. Then we've got that pleasant change on the way. Here's what I mean by low chances for rain. 40% tomorrow. Then it decreases a bit as we go through Saturday and Sunday. We do have a cold front over the weekend that will open the door to Canada, in essence. A good northwest flow will bring drier air, which is less humid air, into the state, and that will send our humidity levels down. You can see the slope there. Once we get to Saturday afternoon, which will be our peak humidity, the slide is on. And by Tuesday, very, very comfortable, and temperatures will follow that same trend, well below average into the mid 70s. We'll have several days next week with temperatures in the 70s for highs. Tomorrow, back to the low to mid 80s instead of the upper 80s like we had today. Temperature of about 83 or 84. Can't rule out isolated thunderstorms mainly during the afternoon in central Indiana. Could have a shower or thunderstorm earlier in the southern portion of the state. There are a couple of green spots first thing in the morning, especially to the south. As we go through the heat of the day, isolated showers and thunderstorms. Notice the coverage is not impressive. The heavier downpours over toward the state line with Ohio. There are the temperatures from north to south, not much of a temperature range, and it will ultimately just depend upon the timing of those thunderstorms. Saturday, the warmer half of the weekend, 86. A little better chance for thunderstorms as well Saturday. Temperatures across the state from the mid 80s just about everywhere on Saturday. And the thunderstorms begin to develop, I would say, in the afternoon hours with the heating. Through Sunday, temperatures are warmest Saturday, that 30% chance of thunderstorms. Sunday, 20% chance we'll see thunderstorms, and we expand it out for you. Temperatures Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, oh so comfortable. Low humidity, temperatures struggle to hit 80, and low temperatures in the 50s. That is a wonderful combination. We'll all be at least a half inch taller. You know, there won't be that humidity on your shoulders holding you down.
That's right. Stand up tall without it. All right, back to school season is raising a lot of questions about possible exposure to COVID-19. Our partners at Newsy are getting answers about some specific classroom concerns.
As the school year starts, you might be wondering about the risks of getting sick with COVID-19. We asked the experts, what's the risk of sharing classroom materials? Their take, the risk of contracting COVID-19 from sharing classroom materials is medium risk.
We just do not see a substantial transmission from objects to people. That being said, we are still working on sterilizing shared equipment, and we absolutely should do that.
Think also of the concept of a lot of students around a microscope, right? This is just natural human behavior when you're in that type of environment, especially if you're excited about learning about something, which you hope that children are. So that increases the risk.
If you're going to have experiments in a science class, for example, you should have each student's individual material shrink wrapped and sterilized beforehand so that every student has their individual materials. But we also know that that's not the nature of most classrooms. There is so much sharing of scissors and pencils and paper. And so I think that this is a new paradigm that we've got to get used to in order for students to feel like they're still having the same experiences of their fellow students.
For more answers on what is low, medium, or high risk, visit newsy.com/what's the risk.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV Trackside, streaming now.
WRTV Trackside, day 2, wrapping things up at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Day first, Tony Kanaan, you got your helmet, which the design has changed over the years.
No, actually, the colors have changed.
Yeah.
The design hasn't. So when I was a little kid, I have not a great hairstyle or hair. So I had a friend that had hair that, he was a blonde kid that used to have hair behind his ears. That's what I did this design. That's my fake hair behind my ears. But yeah, I have the kids in the back, Laurie on the top. We tried to personalize a little bit, This is our personality.
Are these actual, their handprints?
These are their handprints the day that they were born.
Leo, Deco, Max,
and Nina. And that's Laurie's kiss for Rio.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
Do you want to put a kiss of yours here?
Can we? That'd be a little awkward, I think, but something to think about, I guess. He exchanged the mask for the helmet earlier today, and over 3,200 laps turned today. What were you guys working on, and how was your day, Tom?
I mean, I think you've seen a lot of laps because we cut our day short here. So this was the last day before qualifying that you tried to get a race car. So we work on race setup all day long. Nobody concentrate on. We're gonna go up on boost tomorrow. It's gonna be. They're talking about 75 horsepower, more horsepower.
I heard 80, but it's gonna be.
Yeah,
so miles per hour would be what? 4 or 5?
No, like 8.
Wow.
So. We'll see.
Cranking it up. Scott Dixon looks pretty good out here. Here's Scott.
I thought when we'd done some preseason testing, it manipulated the car a little bit differently, but today it seems to be, and yesterday seems more back to normal where the front kind of washes out. So it's working normal and perfect, and it's going to be a difficult race to definitely complete passes though.
And Dixie led the quick 6, 226.1. He just seems like he's all quiet about this and understated, and it's just like...
That's Dixon, man. I mean, and obviously, with all the success he had in his career in IndyCar, I'm actually amazed he hasn't won more than 3 Indy 500s.
He's won one? Yeah, it's crazy.
So I don't know. I have a feeling this year that he's always a tough competitor here, but this year he's in a row, so he's going to be very, really, really hard to beat.
Did have an incident today just before 5 o'clock. It was Fernando Alonso, the 2-time world champion, going low through turn 4. Back end comes around, and that's all you can do. Got very lucky that the car didn't hit that attenuator
and it was at the end of the day, so he had the whole day actually to prep himself. So it wasn't that, like, if it happened in the morning, he would lose all day.
Wrapping up day 2, turning up the boost. These guys are really going to go quick on Fast Friday.
Fast Friday.
For Tony Kanaan, I'm Dave First. Have a great night.
Go Pacers, actually.
That's right.
We'll end the work week with an 84-degree high. That chance of thunderstorms 40%. Into the weekend we go. A decreasing chance of thunderstorms, and temperatures will cool to 83 Sunday. Even cooler early next week. Mark?
All right, Kevin, thank you. And thank you for making WRTV News at 11 your choice for news. GMI head your way at 4:30 tomorrow.